So when you start looking at all this stuff, let me see. Let's bring this down so a little further up. All right. Should be Facebook. Let's go over here. Hey y'all, what's going on? This is your man Sabir Aline. Top of the morning to you. It's getting close. Do you feel it? Yeah. What do you feel? It's the holiday season, which always kicks off with Thanksgiving, which kind of stirs up some thoughts and feelings, huh? Yeah, you start thinking about people who used to be here. Some people set up seats at the table for people who ain't here no more, and you go through a whole lot of rituals when it comes to the holidays. Yeah, a whole lot of rituals, especially when it comes to Christmas, because that really stirs up a lot more than Thanksgiving, because it's a big travel time for one, but it's also a time where uh, you look at yourself and you look at, depending on why you recognize this holiday of Christmas, whether it's from a religious perspective, a traditional perspective, or you're just being a part of the uh, spirit, and it has nothing to do with any other things. It's just like a whole vibe that starts happening, the hustle and bustle of the shoppers, and people reaching out to family members who they haven't talked to in a long time, who haven't talked to at all. You start experiencing those things. Let me push this closer a little bit. So, yeah, I always sit, you know, on or near the patio because I like that vibe. But most importantly, it stirs up things within you. Uh, and a lot of times it's unresolved because you begin to miss people. You begin to think of people who you would just love to see again, people you would love to go visit, or you would love for them to call you. Yeah, just like call me. Like I've called you a number of times. You don't return my calls. I don't know what the issue is. Yeah, everybody has a life. Everybody has life. But it's things that you're responsible for within yourself, because a lot of people don't seek resolve in that capacity. They want somebody else to do for them something that they can actually do for themselves. It looked like I was with Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Like I was in the middle of all that. But this is just the labor of what it is that I do. Still staying true to doing Daddy's Right Here. Daddy's Right Here is something that I established, uh, predicated off of my thesis project in 2005 at Lincoln University for my Master of Human Services program. So one of the things that I was looking at, hold on one second, man. Sorry about that. I had to go upstairs and tend to the 3-year-old who always needs some level of attending to. So, anywho, I started Daddy's Right Here as a nonprofit back in 2006 is when it actually became a nonprofit organization. And soon you'll be seeing some more postings from me requesting your help in trying to bring to fruition some of the other aspects of Daddy's Right Here. Yeah, I continue to do the shows. I continue to, wherever I can, do some things. Since I moved from Philly to Florida, things have slowed, but it's time to bring that to fruition, man. Uh, People need aid in many capacities, especially when it comes to developing, redeveloping, reestablishing relationships and improving those relationships between the other parent and yourself and or the child or children. They didn't ask to come, right? They didn't ask to come into your nonsense, but whatever we can possibly do to aid in their adjustment, that is part of our responsibility. Some things you can't change. You've been a child before. You know the thoughts that you continue to harbor about decisions your parents made. And it's really not until you get your own till you begin to see some things, but you still are not being authentic because you still want to hold on to childhood stuff, as a crutch, as an aid to keep yourself in the place that you're in because you just don't want to let things go. I remember, when my parents are separated, I didn't want to be around dude. My mother used to send me to see my father. My mother never stopped uh, making sure that my father was able to connect with me. Never did it. Now, the hell he took her through, but she never stopped him from seeing me. Right? I focus on me because I can't talk about my other siblings because it's been their experience. But she never stopped him from being able to have access to me. Right? Obviously, it took some time to process through some things to begin to, move forward. And some other family members got involved in being able to make that connection possible. And it was an arrangement made, and it happened until one day I decided that I did not want to go see him. My mother came upstairs to get me, like, hey, they waiting on you. And I was upstairs crying. She said, well, what are you crying for? And I told her, I don't want to see, I don't like him. And at that time, I didn't. Long time went past, fast forward. I eventually found out where he worked at, and I went to start, trying to connect with him. Eventually, we connected. We start, going to lunch and doing some things, and hanging out after work, with him and his crew because he was a laborer in Philly. All of his life, he was a laborer. Um, but I used to go and meet him at the job because I had this expectation that he owed me something. And for some reason, money is the only thing that children think that their parents should be giving them as a means of reconciliation for some failed portions of our lives. So I would meet him and, you see wines, man. What's up? I'm a grown man. I'm working, right? But that's the only thing I knew. That's the superficial stuff that I knew I wanted from him, right? Because I couldn't fathom like the concept of him as father because he wasn't there as a father. So I couldn't grasp anything else. So that came to mind first. Yo, dude, I need some paper. Because again, my conditioning, my ill conditioning by others around me, right? Being an adult, I still had that conditioning. I still had the unresolved of absence. And then one day I was standing there waiting for him to come out, from work, a usual meeting place. And I was there like an hour, maybe an hour and a half past the time that he had gotten off. And then somebody else that came out, I said, yo, you see such and such? They'd be like, oh, he been left. I said, really? I said, yeah. So it was in that moment that I realized my selfishness and my poor understanding of resolve. Not just mine, but his. I never considered how he thought and how he felt about what it is that I was imposing upon him as an expectation of what I wanted from him as a father, because I didn't know what I wanted from him as a father. So I did what I did best. But anywho, fast forward from there, we started spending time together, talking and whatnot. I would come by his crib every day when I got off of work, stop there, he'd be there, we'd sit on the step, talk a little bit, break it up a little bit, and then I would hit home. In 2014, excuse me, geez, 2014, 2004, he was murdered. And I'm thankful for the fact that I took the initiative to develop a relationship with a man who had fathered a child without expectations, without judgment, and all that other stuff that had been, you know, uh, pounded into my head. Um, and I had a good relationship with him. Matter of fact, I had gotten clean in '94, and the Million Man March, I think, was to have 95, 90, somewhere around there. I still got the hat. Yeah, I got the hat. Says I was there because I was there, and I was there with my father. And that was a good moment for us to bond. We had a long walk from the place that we were at the church. I forget the name of the very famous church, but we walked and we talked, and we stood arm in arm at some point, assisting with the traffic flow in DC. And but anyway, um, so I don't have any unresolved about that because I sought to get the resolve within myself. He needed it too. He needed it too because he know what I was fed, right? He know the things, his trials and tribulations. I never knew those things. I never, because I wasn't a grown up. I just wanted to hold on to stuff, and then, as time started going on, I started learning some things and taking some responsibility. So I say all that to say that that's the foundation of Daddy's right here: academic research, uh, personal experience, and then working as a clinician for 30 years. I've learned a lot about relationships and relationship development, rebuilding, building, and all those kind of things. And I often tell people, listen, I'm a marriage number five. And they'd be like, what, five times, man? Shit, I wouldn't be married that many times. But one of the things that I looked at is it's a learning experience. Out of six relationships, serious relationships that I had, I actually married five of them. Yeah. Nobody has that conversation because that doesn't matter because that's people's conditioning. But when you ask somebody how many serious relationships, so-called serious relationships, they had, they'll list a whole bunch of people because there's never been consideration for those kinds of changes in life. It's like I want to do things my way. I want to do this. I like taking care of somebody. I love taking care of somebody. I love having somebody to take care of me, right? But being a caretaker, I've always looked to take care of somebody. Such a joy to be able to care for somebody, and you don't always get back what you think you should get back. The other part to that is people have the right to be who they are and the way they are, and I have the right not to be around you. I have that right. So you have the right to keep being who you are and acting the way you are and doing what it is that you do as a person, right? And you have to accept that about me. That's the bottom line. And that's what life is really about. If you're seeking to have a life of marital bliss, you have to put in the work. But the first thing you have to do is you have to marry for you to be able to see and understand what comes along with all of it. And we're always going to make some mistakes. We're always going to have some conflicts and controversies. But the question is, how much are you really willing to put into this? And a lot of times the question is, people aren't really ready for marriage because they don't understand the significance of marriage. They don't understand the significance of it. This is not a boyfriend girlfriend arrangement. This is something that you get into and you got to put two pairs of gloves on, right? Because it's going to be a fight. And most of the fight is within yourself because you will always meet the representative first. And then, as the old saying goes, shit gets real. And you start seeing, I can't just talk to this person like I'm talking to my boyfriend because there's an option of leaving. Marriage has that option too. It's called divorce. But if that's how you live your life based on, I have this option, then you won't be successful. If you enter into any relationship and it's not 100 in, it's not going to last because that other percentage that's not in goes somewhere else. And it's usually going somewhere else where it's a comfort zone. Therefore, you continue to act like there's an option. When you act without an option being on the table, it feels different. So everybody's not ready for that. But it took previous marriages for me to learn and understand and accept, because that's a big part of it, accepting that you have to leave people where they are. You can't change anybody. If someone was seeking to change, if someone saw the need to change, you would see it reflected in what they say and do. Period. If they're not saying it and doing it, it ain't going to happen. I don't care how many arguments you have, right, about that matter that has clearly been identified as being a thorn in your side. It will always be there. So you have to make a choice. Do I stay or do I go? Do I tolerate it or do I just cut it off altogether? Because some people don't have a level of tolerance beyond their expectations. It's like, this is what it is, and that's the way it's going to be. It's my way or the highway. That's cool. I don't want a my way or the highway situation. I want to be very clear that we have to be in alignment with one important aspect of living. God must be your go-to source, first and foremost. If you're going to friends, family, if you're going up here in your head alone without any kind of guidance, right? That's why when people say to you, pray on something, well, in order to pray, you have to have an understanding of scripture. Where am I going to look in here? I'm not just looking for any scripture. I'm not just going into the Quran and looking for any surah, any ayah, any ayat. I am looking for an answer. So when I go to God and praying for a fix to this circumstance, I have to be like, listen, this is what, okay, so it's supposed to, but how do I, because I don't know, well, what happened to those who didn't? Because it's happening to me. I'm experiencing this, and I don't want to be. These are all the things that you have to do as part of obedience, getting to the point of being obedient, not just knowing that there's a God, not just believing in God, but being obedient to those principles, right, that are significant to your growth as a human being. Period. So, having said all of those things, right, it has always been within me to do better, not to be better than anyone, but to be better today than I was yesterday. The greatest part of all that is being your authentic self. Your authentic self. That means being who you are in your core, not this superficial person, not this person who want to clap at the corny jokes, not this person who want to kiki and smile. Listen, it's etiquette that's expected in particular environments. But one of the things that's never expected is that you be inauthentic. That's never expected. Right? Nah, they would you no, be real. Be real about it. And people call themselves, being real about a situation, right? Through nothing but lies, deception, falsehoods, everything they convince themselves of. That's being real. Because you convinced yourself of that, because that's what I think, that's what I feel. Therefore, I'm being real. No, you're not. Being real, first and foremost, is taking responsibility for your bad behavior, for your negative attitude, for the level of disrespect that you put upon others that you don't expect others to put upon you. Always being a victim. Always being a victim. When you're looking at being your authentic self, right? You have to first acknowledge that there are behaviors that are just downright unacceptable, even to you. There are pleasing behaviors to you, and then there are unacceptable behaviors to you. But each time you find something that's unacceptable to you, you have to ask yourself why. And it can't be based on the person. The why is what triggers you when this happens? What triggers you when somebody raises their voice at you? What triggers you when a person that you're around just gives you this uncomfortable feeling? What is it about that person? Because it's not the person who is the issue, it's you who has the issue. You understand? So, why is a real important question. Why does it bother you? And a lot of times when you're being a fraud, because I'm going to tell you just the way it is, when you're being a fraud, when you're inauthentic, you're being a fraud. When you're acting the way you think people want you to act, you're being a fraud. Like you have all these artists today, it's been going on for a while, who profess to be gangsters, this, that, and the other, who ain't never even been in the street. Never been a part of the street, never been in the street in any capacity, but they gangsters on stage. They gangsters in this fraudulent life that they're living. Yeah. They're actors. But we're all actors, aren't we? I act like I like you. I act like I care. I act like I'm this. I act like I'm that. How much of it is legitimate? That's a part that's really important. An authentic self embraces and accepts that it is the nature of the human being to be flawed, to be a fraud, and to always present what they think the other wants to see. So you gravitate towards those who are just like you. Real knows real. Frauds know frauds. And everybody's running around acting like they got it going on, and they don't. Some people don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but they got it going on because they've convinced themselves that the things that they have adorned themselves with make them real. Everybody's good at talking in some capacity. Everybody, even the most unlearned person, has the ability to have a conversation based off of what they picked up around them in their family, outside in the society, and so on and so forth. All you have to do is sit down and watch enough and internalize it to go regurgitate it. That's what most people are doing. Right? So let's go to the article so I can further lead you in the direction that I want to take this. I'll move this over here because most of my article is here. So all of you know that I usually take most of my shows from Psychology Today, simply because of its Psychology Today. It's something that has been around since February. I can remember as far back, I want to say the 70s is when I started seeing the magazine Psychology Today in different places like doctor's offices and other businesses you go on. There's Psychology Today, so it's been around for a long time. It's a very it's probably one of the best and consistent reads that I have seen for a long time. The title of the article is "Embrace Authenticity and Live Your True Self." It's by Eileen Strauss Cohen, PhD. So, embrace authenticity and live your true self, unleashing your true self while nurturing relationships. So, it's twofold: unleashing your true self. So, that means you have to discover what your true self is. And you do this while nurturing relationships. You understand? It happens simultaneously. It happens simultaneously. And if you remember in previous shows, I always tell people that you have the conscious, the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious all happening at the same time. My eyes always seem to water up, especially when I'm talking about something so sensitive. So just imagine you're having a conversation with somebody, because this is the nurturing relationships part. You're having a conversation with someone. Somewhere in the conversation, something is said that triggers something from you, right? Now, did it trigger something that you're conscious of? Something that resides within your subconscious or your unconscious? Because the things that are in your unconscious were things that have been suppressed for some time. You know, when such and such happens, you go through these feelings, but you have no idea why. It doesn't come to mind why, when this happens, that, I go through all these emotions. So all these things are happening at the same time. So when you're interacting with people, you have to begin to look at, this is the nurturing part of the nurturing relationships. You have to come to understand why this is happening. What is it about this person? What is it about the place that we're in? What is it about that they just said that caused me to feel what I'm feeling? And it's not looking at this situation to blame. It's to search. It's your own search as to why you keep feeling this way. And you'll start, and you just write down a list of why you think that. So I'm having a conversation with, somebody we've been friends for a long time, since childhood. And now when we talk, the conversation sounds different. It sounds immature. It sounds stupid. It sounds like the same conversation y'all were having in grade school. You start looking at that person and see they haven't changed, that they're still being the same person that they've always been. You've seen no growth. You've seen nothing from them, right? Why is that your business? What makes that your business? Is that how y'all establish a friendship? Is that cause for alarm? Sure, some people have remained stagnant in their lives. And because we've grown, we begin to look at them as being different. But what's different about that person? They've always been this way. Why is it different for you now? How are you going to nurture a relationship that you've been a part of for a long time? And now you're taking the position of cutting them off because they're still being who they've always been. How do you nurture that relationship? Because the way you nurture this relationship is how you nurture every relationship. Things don't go your way, you take your toys and go home. Yeah. You stomp your feet, kick your feet, flail your hands, the whole chicken neck thing. You do all of that. Why? That person doesn't understand right now what the hell it is that's going on here with this relationship. We've been friends for 20 years. Why are you acting like this now? But if you're not taking the time to assess yourself, you'll lose that relationship because you're selfish and you don't want to take enough time to look at what's happening. You don't have the ability to have the conversation, right? Because maybe you just don't want to hear what they have to say back to you, so you're not ready for that. Maybe they'll tell you the truth about you and how you've always acted for the 20 years that we've known each other, but they just didn't say anything because they're your friend. Maybe you intimidate them to the point where they don't feel like they can, because if they do approach the situation, they've seen how you acted with others. They don't want to be part of that. It's a lot of reasons that happen here. And regardless of your self-righteous behavior of, well, you need to, I think you should have because you could, that's not your position. That's not your place. Either we're a friend and you accept me for who I am and how I am, or you just move on because maybe you're in this friendship for all the wrong reasons. What were you looking for? What band-aid did I put on your unhealed wounds? Because that's how we formed a friendship. Our friendship was based on commonality. We both grew up in the same hellhole. So we had something in common. You're not in that hellhole anymore. You still have the residue of it. You still have the trauma from it, but you didn't grew up some. You done matured in some areas. And you no longer have to use that as a crutch. They haven't been able to do that. It's not for you to tell somebody where to be. Always remember the power and control that you have in any given situation. If the relationship is not working, you just move on. Y'all don't have to become enemies. You don't have to be this, that. You have to be none of that. Just move on. None of my ex-wives would ever tell you that when we parted ways, that it was bitter, ugly, nasty, nothing. If I run into them in the street, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's happening? Yeah, okay, good to see you. Yeah, how's it? Okay, yeah. Well, I know, it's never been any of that. There's no need for it. Because my brother had asked me the question about that one time some years ago, like, how y'all not together anymore? And y'all still like, why would we be otherwise? Well, one of those people, two of those people are the mothers of my children, right? One of the mothers was not a wife. It was an outside relationship. Yeah, it was an act of infidelity. But that didn't end the marriage, right? But there's no need for that. But sometimes what happens is the other person doesn't want to accept their responsibility for why the relationship is in the condition that it's in. They want to keep being the victim. They want to keep being like what they did and what they do is okay. but you have the right to remove that person from your life. Plain and simple. Ain't got to be no conflict about what I'm doing for my life so I can have healthier living. That's my choice. Maybe you need to learn how to do the same. So this is talking about like the nurturing of relationships. When you be authentic about your decisions, when you stand on decisions with validity as to why you actually stand that way, whether that person accepts it or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to always find something that they dislike about you anyway. So let this just be one more thing. It doesn't matter. You have to feel comfortable in your own skin. And a lot of people are not comfortable in their own skin. They can't be authentic. They're not comfortable in their own skin. So, key points in this article explores ways to honor your authentic self without sacrificing the bonds that matter most. Next point, living authentically involves embracing and expressing our true selves. Next point, authenticity should not be sacrificed for acceptance. And the last point is authenticity is acknowledging and expressing our genuine thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. See, because if you're not honest with yourself, right, you can't be honest with anybody else. So when you honestly say, well, I don't like him, right? I don't like him because the things that transpired between the two of you, that's not a matter of a discussion for others. It's a discussion for you. Because now you have to evaluate and assess this relationship. And when you get past the part of he this, he that, she that, and get to the part of I did this, I did that, I said this, I said that. And then look at why you were saying those things or why you did these things or did or whatever the case is. When you start looking at things from a self-assessment perspective, you begin to see, well, damn, if that was me, I'd have did the same thing. How many times do you get asked by the other person that you have offended, if we were in different places, if you were in my place and I was in yours, regarding what just happened, how many times would you be honest and say, well, yeah, I wouldn't have accepted it either. If you had said that to me or did that to me, I'd have acted the same way. So why then have you not let this go? If you wouldn't accept it, why do you expect somebody else to accept it? Then that begs the question, who do you think you are that you can do this? Or you can say this and go unchecked? You understand? If you're going to grow, you have to take ownership and responsibility for things that you do. You have to take ownership and responsibility for what you impose upon other people because you're being self-righteous. You can't do this to me. Don't you know who I am? Well, who do you think you are that you can't? Well, who do you think you are that it can't? Again, you have power and control over yourself. But as long as you can point fingers and blame other people, you are building on a character that is not going to produce any good outcomes in any relationship. You're going to find yourself over and over again in every relationship that doesn't appease you. You're going to find yourself constantly in failed relationships. It's a difference between something that doesn't work out because we have a different set of ideas than us becoming bitter enemies because I think that you should or should not have done particular things. It's a difference. Because you have to come to understand we ain't all going together. We're not. Some people just can't go with you on this journey. But if you're not even going with you and you're by yourself, that's even a greater problem because you don't know where to go. So you got to keep finding people who are in alignment with your thinking. When you don't find people who are in alignment with your thinking, they become your enemy because you think they oppose you. No, I don't oppose you. I don't like what you do. I don't like what you make me feel like. Therefore, I need to part ways with you. And you have to be okay with parting ways with people. Listen, I can count my friends on one hand, and this hand ain't full. I like it that way. I prefer it to be that way. So let's go here. Right? In a time when conformity often takes precedence, embracing our authentic selves can seem daunting. However, as Brené Brown articulates in the book Braving the Wilderness, and Glennon Doyle emphasizes in Untamed, living authentically is liberating and essential for our overall well-being. Think about that for a minute, right? Living authentically involves embracing and expressing our true selves, not the version of ourselves that society expects or accepts. This authenticity is deeply intertwined with our sense of self-worth and self-understanding. Think for a minute. If living authentically is liberating and essential for our overall well-being, why would you not be pursuing that? Do you understand what liberating means? When you look at liberal as being the core word, right? Just looking at liberal, because we can take some other words and make those the core words, but just look at liberal. When you think liberal, right, you think Democrats versus Republicans. You think the left versus the right, right? You think of opposites. It's the opposites that give you the freedom. The opposites give you the freedom. Democrats and Republicans are not opposite, for real. Anybody can change parties, and they've done it. They do it. But because they're always showing you this hand, you're not watching the other hand because they only want you to see one hand. These folks operate on both sides, always have and always will. You can't continue to play the game that they play publicly, privately, because you're doing the same thing to yourself. You think there are two sides. There's only one side of the fence. It just depends on where you're standing at that time. That fence has an opening. If you walk over to the other side and you look on the other side, it looks the same. It's just the other side. But you can see everything. So when you believe that you're on a side of the fence, which is liberating, so people think, for instance, when you come to the age of an adult, that it's liberating because now I can do what I want to do. But that's not true. I learned that early. You got a job, you can pay for it, you buy what you want to buy. Nope, you better save your receipts. Because as long as you live under this roof, you have to do this. When we were conditioned to believe that, well, when I got a job, you told me I can get what I want. Or when I become of age, I can go where I want. I can drink now because no, but you can't be here and drink. See, those are the things that we get left out. We look for a liberating side. We really don't know what it means to be liberated. Liberated means now you have access to certain things that you didn't have access to before. It doesn't mean that you go crazy and start doing things just because you think you don't even understand what adulthood is. You don't even understand what it means to sit down and become addicted to alcohol and what it does to yourself. You don't know what it means to have to get up every day and go to work without option. Even after using your sick days, you still listen. The sick days are gone. You expired them all because you didn't take and manage yourself in a liberating fashion. You didn't care for yourself. You didn't manage your health appropriately. You didn't eat right. You didn't sleep right. You were still living like a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, right? So you still haven't learned what adulthood really looks like. And then when you become an adult, you still want to be a Toys R Us kid. You still want to be playful. You still want to just look at the world through a lens of selfishness because children are selfish. We have to teach them to be grateful. We have to teach them to share with others. We have to teach them these things because we're naturally born selfish. Everything's about me, 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 me. I cry, you pick me up. I cry, you give me a bottle. I cry, you rock me. I cry, you give me what it is that I want. Why? Because when I cry, I get a response from you. So adults are still crying because they want a response. It's not always the response that they're looking for, but they want a response. It's attention-seeking behavior. What is your self-worth? And I recently, in a song, I put in a song about how Kamala Harris, during her campaign, had I forgot the artist's name, up on the stage, shaking her behind, right? And listen, you can sit down and say all day long, "Well, I didn't know." Well, that's your fault. You would have known if there was somebody else there that shouldn't have been there. But the point is, you have a black woman who thinks it's a great idea to have another black woman on a stage shaking her behind so you can get more votes. Right? What does that say about you as a person and your thoughts of a black woman, let alone any woman, to be up on a stage shaking her ass for votes? You might as well have a campaign party in a strip club. You'd have had more variety. Maybe you'd have got more people tuning in, but you wanted the black vote. So showing them a black ass shaking on stage was favorable, right? So when you have those kind of influencers who do things like that, you also brandish before our children, our female children, how that's okay. Oh, she shook her ass for the person who was running for president of the United States. Oh, I'm gonna shake my ass too. We already get that from the music industry. We already get that from the TV and film industry. We already get that. Now you come along and reinforce. So, I mean, we look at things like that. So when we start looking at self-worth, what is the messages that you have been internalizing about you? What messages have you given yourself about you and your self-worth? You think people are going to really respect you when you act like that? No, they're not respecting you. They're going to take advantage of it. Yeah, you're vulnerable. You're an easy target now. I know what you want, and I'm going to give you this. And that's going to be where you draw the line for who you are. Because you can't go beyond that because everybody around you has validated that. They validated that. My daughters have never been in the street shaking their behind. The first time it happened where one of my daughters was out all this old hip gyrating stuff. No. That was your most, listen, for me as a man, for me as a father, that was so humiliating to see my child out in the street shaking her behind because we think that that's cool. We think at that age, that's liberating. I can shake my tail out in the street while others standing around watching me shaking my tail. Nah, that didn't happen again. Like we have our young ladies involved in all this street dancing and all kind of stuff. Ain't no dudes standing around clapping because they like to dance. Oh, that's great. That's great performing. No, they want to see what they can see. Oh, and women, females do it too. But I'm just talking about having your girls around a bunch of dudes and they're shaking their behind. And that's supposed to be what? That's your self-worth. So when you see how you look at yourself, the way you look at yourself, the way you see yourself, the people who are around you validating that kind of behavior, right? They don't want better for you. No, they don't want better for you. They think you a clown, and because you're a clown, they sitting there clapping because you got something that they want. Either they're gonna get drugs from you, alcohol from you, money from you. They're gonna get, they can wear your clothes, you can wear theirs, whatever the case is. And dudes do the same thing. Dudes share clothes, they just don't talk about it. Ain't no issue with that, but they don't talk about it. Why don't we talk about it? So it's all about your self-worth and self-understanding. How do you see yourself? Right? How do you see yourself? If you go do this, if you go shake your behind around this group of people, you look at how they respond to it. Then go do that same behavior around your parents. Who are you trying to appease? Your friends or your parents? Who do you want to be pleasing to? Your friends or your parents? Well, when you have unresolved within yourself, right, and you have so much animosity towards your parents for the decisions that they make as adults because you think they should make other decisions, you start pleasing and appeasing those other people, your friends, and you gravitate towards them because they say, yeah, I know mine is the same way. And none of us as children ever look at when the other child says, yeah, mine are that way too. We don't never look at, well, wait a minute, is this something? How about your parents, Johnny? Mike, what's up? Yeah, that's what they all do. And then you begin to get an understanding of parenting because it's not just your parent who knocked the hell out of you because you came out your mouth with some slickness. Coming up, that's what we got. Now you have these so-called child supportive services, family supportive services that do anything but will lock your ass up for putting a mark on your child, but want to put marks on your child in schools as a means of correcting bad behavior in their school. In their school, because it's not your damn school. That's the school you attend. It's their school. It's the government school. But we'll talk about that on another show. But it's like you as the government can do anything you damn well please to us, period. And think that there should be no response. There's always a response. And that's why you put in place laws to protect you. Your laws don't protect us. We're not protected by any laws. The laws protect the government. Understand that part, right? And see, when you have conversations, when you have dialogue in this capacity, people begin to change their tones with you. So, oh, you wanted what? I'm telling you the way it is. I'm not afraid of the government. I'm not afraid of any man. I'm going to say what I damn well please. But I'll be respectful because I expect the same back. But most importantly, it's a matter of how you address those things, right? When people sit around you and they talk about other things such as racial divide, when they talk about hate and all those things, that's a different conversation, right? And that's a conversation that we're not going to sit down and have. Because you will never see things through the lens that I see them as because you don't see yourself as a human being. You see yourself as a drone, as a puppet, for man. For man. So you do what man tells you to do. It's one thing to say I respect the law and I wouldn't go out there and violate the law, but you let people violate you and don't say anything. That's not being your authentic self. There's nothing liberating about that. Think about it. What's liberating about that? When you allow rich, stinky rich people to make decisions about your life. Yeah. People who just don't have anything else to do with their time but fuck over everybody else because they have few coins. You bow down to that. You yield to that. It's a difference between being compliant with something and believing that it's valid in terms of why it exists. None of what exists today in law, when it comes to what happens in our streets, is valid. None of it is valid. It's supposed to be a means for the states to control their people. But then they're being controlled themselves and don't want to acknowledge or accept it. That's being authentic. It took a woman to give politicians a set of balls to begin to make some decisions and choices on the other side of the aisle. It took a woman to do that, right? It didn't take a man. Ain't none of these men in politics on either side of the aisle stood up. It took a woman to give these men a set of balls so they can make some decisions that are actually better for the people, to stand against a person who they're at odds with, they have a fear of. A person who would actually have more respect for them if they stood the hell up. You think you're going to be respected when you cower to somebody else's thinking? You think they're going to love you more? You think that they're going to do for you more because you cower to them? No, you just showed them how much of a coward you actually are. But that's what you do in everyday life. See, when you take things in society that society is giving you, they're showing you how you act. They're showing you how to act. They're showing you how you react to certain situations. And because we are so ill and poorly conditioned in this life, this is how we conduct ourselves in relationships. We're anything but authentic. And again, it's the difference between being a coward and being authentic in terms of to address or not to address. I learned a long time ago, pick and choose your fights. Pick and choose your fights, because everything is not a fight. Doesn't mean you can't say what you need to say, but you have the right to say. Nobody has the right to squelch, to suppress, but man does it. But that doesn't mean you have to walk around in fear. And a lot of y'all walk around in fear and let people say and do things that they want to say and do to you, and then you blow up one day because it happened. But you have full control over it. See, I'm trying to talk to you from perspective of what you have before you every day in the media that influences how you are, influences your self-worth, influences the self-perception, influences whether you are going to be liberated or not. Liberation, you can be in chaos and still feel liberated because you're being yourself. Just realize that sometimes being yourself has a price. You wind up with this many friends or less than. And it's okay. Understanding authenticity. We are at the hour, but I'm going to roll just a little bit longer with it. So understanding authenticity. Authenticity is acknowledging and expressing our genuine thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. You have to expose yourself to yourself, because you retain these beliefs and these thoughts and these feelings right now does not mean that this is the foundation of your future living. You have to acknowledge this now so you can see, is this of value to you? Is you being disrespectful towards people with your mouth of value to you? What have you gotten? Where have you gotten in your goals? Where have you gotten in your hopes, dreams, and aspirations with this kind of attitude? What has it gotten you? Has it gotten you any further than where you are today? No. You're just on a sticky pad. Just like that mouse that gets caught on the sticky pad, it lays there and it shakes and it jerks and it gets further and further. It went from having a foot in to 2 feet in to 4 feet, and now it's got its face stuck in the sticky pad and it can't go off. It's usually because of the oil in the hair and the skin that it eventually, gets itself off of. And some people, like the mouse, just tires out and lays there and dies or falls asleep or plays possum. Let's go down. So the importance of authenticity. Living authentically allows us to align our actions with our values and desires, increasing satisfaction and happiness. So what we call this in clinical terms is cognitive dissonance. Your mouth says one thing, but your actions say something else. Oh, for instance, love you, right? That came out of your mouth, right? That's what your mouth said. Your actions, you don't do anything to show it. But everybody's around in the house. You want, yeah, love you. Yeah, love you too. And you don't. Don't say it. If you don't say it. Just don't say it. You make yourself look foolish, especially when the other person knows. Don't say it. Nobody asks you to say love you too. And we feel compelled when somebody says love you. And if there's an inkling of fraudulence to that statement, don't say it. Just don't say it. Hey, no, it's good seeing you too. I don't have to say I love you if I don't. But if there's an inkling of care for that person, okay, that may be justifiable. Maybe you still got to work through some stuff. Maybe they still got to work stuff through you, about you, through you, regarding you, in order for you, and them to be able to make another connection. But if there's not even an inkling that you love this person, just don't say it. You don't have to. If you're with somebody in a relationship and y'all been doing it do, and one day one says I love you and the other doesn't get it back, what are you getting mad for? You're at that point with them. I'm not at that point. I like you. I care for you. But when you start talking about love, we have obviously different perceptions of what love is. So we're not going to go any further in this relationship because already you're acting this way because I'm not responding according to your expectation. I don't have to tell you I love you if I don't. One of the challenges of embracing authenticity, to the article, is maintaining our relationships. And I talked about this early on in the show. Maintaining our relationships. If we went to school, we've known each other for 20 years, I'm not doing, according to you, as good as you think I should be doing, or you haven't reached and attained certain things that I've attained in life, and I'm going to stop, I want to cut you off. You got to ask yourself what the issue is with that. The frequency of our interaction may change. That's fine. You're busy. You're doing things now, right? You're moving forward with the progress. Pursuing hopes, dreams, and aspirations. That's fine. I don't have to cut you off. I don't have to stop picking up the phone and call and say, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" Yeah, I'm just calling to check on you. That's a relationship that you have with somebody. So now you're better than. Now you're self-righteous because you're making a couple dollars every week now. You got a real job. You ain't out hustling singles, Lucy's like I was doing, like we was doing together. You don't do that anymore. Okay, maybe that's all I have the capacity to do right now because I don't have somebody in my life like yourself who is showing me that same direction and helping me. Yeah, I'm better than now. You don't come get me and say, "Hey, yo, let's go do lunch over at the greasy spoon spot," right? You don't do that anymore. You're past that. You want to be seen with me now, or you are so ratchet that you don't want to see the role you have and why our relationship is this way. You don't want to look at that. You want to keep blaming others for why this happens when you still don't want to look at yourself because you don't want to be authentic. You want to keep blaming that other person. No, I cut you off because of this. That's why I cut you off. Yeah, because that's who you presented to me. That's who you became to me. When an individual begins to act authentically, back to the article, and breaks these norms, because you've established that as a norm, because you want to keep those values and beliefs because you think that they protect you from something, right? It can create tension and conflict. And that's what you'll see in your relationships with other people. That you acknowledge that there was some role in it, but you're not willing to take responsibility for its failure and just be a better person, not than them, a better person than the one you were yesterday. That's where the growth is, being better today than you were yesterday. Yielding to yourself and letting the authentic self come through and move past your fraudulent self. So they got some they got 5 things listed here. I want to cover those 5 things as quick as possible. So authenticity, while it may be initially disruptive, it is a necessary step on the path to personal growth and healthier family relationships. You can stay the way you are for the rest of your life. That's your choice. It don't mean a damn thing to me. It's your life. It's your life. But I have found myself throughout the years of my life, I be who I am. I do me. I'm respectful of everybody. I'm just not a disrespectful person. Hence the reason why I don't have conflicts and confrontations all over the place that continue to just drag on and drag on and drag on. The marriage is over. Whether it's agreed upon or not, it doesn't matter. It's 2 good people in a situation that didn't work. End of story. And we keep right on going. It's not for me to make you change your behavior. It's not for me to make you listen. As your husband, it's not my responsibility to heal you. That's not my responsibility. That's your responsibility. You're responsible for your own healing. You are. And I'm not saying that if you don't ask a question about my thoughts about a particular thing, that I won't give it to you. I'll give that to you. But it's not my job to be your counselor. Even as a 30-year clinician, I am not going to try to offer you any counseling. That's not my position. That's your job to get yourself healthy. That's your job to bring that to the table, that you're a healthy partner. That's your job. I don't have the power to fix anybody. I don't have the power to fix my damn self. That's why I go to God. That's why I continue to ask questions. I continue to learn. I continue to listen to scripture, be it the Bible, be it the Quran. I'm always getting guidance. I'm always seeking guidance. I'm always seeking to be a better person. I'm always seeking to serve and not to be served. To serve and not to be served, right? As part of open communication. Share your journey towards authenticity with your loved ones. Explain your need to live more authentically and how it might affect your relationships. Yeah. It's open communication. Hey, listen. Listen. You have my prayers. You will be blessed. You need to take this journey because it's for you. It's for you. It's your journey. Everybody can't go. Period. Number 2, practice empathy. Understand that your loved ones may need time to adjust to the changes. Be patient and empathetic towards their feelings. See, when you go on these journeys of change, right? Even though everybody can't go, it's some people who like you would really like if they went with you, But they're not ready for that. They're not ready to change their own lives. They're not ready to see you mature. They're not ready to see you grow up. They always want you to be just the way you are because that's appeasing to them. See, as long as I can keep that monster alive in you, I'll always have a companion. But when you decide to put that monster to rest and you begin to come into yourself, you start seeing some realities about the place where you put yourself because of your attitude and behavior. You don't want that no more. And you be like, you got to be good with that. And you can't slip back. You can't slip back. I've been working in the correctional system for 30 years in the prison, community corrections. I always tell the same thing. They're going to expect for little boo-boo to come back. They're going to expect when you get home that you go check some stuff because some people are out of pocket. They're going to always keep the little boo-boo around because that made life easier for them. They didn't have to dial 911. They called little boo-boo and he come handle it. Little boo-boo got to make the adjustment to not be responding to every little thing that come out of somebody's mouth. When you see all this space between you and another person and all this is going on, it ain't going no further. Just go ahead and walk away, man. Because the longer the conversation goes, the more alive and liberating little boo-boo feels again. Everybody ain't going to welcome the change. Some people need to keep you in that place that you in because you need them. They're not going to tell you that they need you. Think about it. When I don't need you anymore, what's up with this relationship now? I don't need you anymore. Not in that capacity. I need you just to stand on the sideline and cheer me, wave to me as I go upon this new journey. Encourage me to keep going. Stand firm on the fact that I ain't messing with you. So I can keep going. But empathy is so important. That's why I was saying, like, when you help other people, you're helping yourself, and you don't see the growth in that. But when you're helping other people, just because these people are part of your rah-rah group, and you see all these other people who need as well, the relationship you need to fix as well, but you ain't doing nothing to fix them because you're waiting for them, to join your rah. No, I'm not joining your rah-rah group. You go ahead with your little cheerleader squad. Y'all go ahead and do what it is that y'all doing. I'm not riding with that. Bye. But I'm the guy who drives down 95 and like looks for somebody stranded. Yeah. Like, I hope they're getting help. I hope somebody's coming. When they look like they've been out there for a while, they're going to hurt themselves. Yeah, can I get off at the next exit so I can go around? And then before I get to the next exit, by the time I get to the next exit, the thought, somebody probably already, if it's a short distance and I get on and I can get off and get back on, I'll ride it. Sometimes it's just not realistic because you get off some exit sometime and it ain't another on ramp for a minute. You got to go, then you be sitting there looking like, damn, so but because it's always in my head of helping somebody else, but I know when to not help anymore. I know when to stop trying to help because I understand behavioral change is a choice. It's a choice. Set boundaries. Define what behaviors you will and will not accept from others and communicate these boundaries clearly. This can help maintain respect in your relationships while allowing you to be your true self. I tell people right from the door, listen, I trust no one. I've told my wife the same thing. And people will be offended and hurt when you tell them, right, that I don't trust anyone. I know you're going to fail me somewhere in there. I know, right? You have to earn that. Trust is not just given. You have to earn trust. Love is not just given. You have to earn love. And you have to have an understanding of what love looks like to me. Because most relationships fail because people don't make clear. This is a boundary. Don't make clear what expectations they have about being shown love. You can love me, but to so far, but you can only love me with the knowledge that you have, the understanding, the belief and value that you have of love. You have to learn how to love me. So what you can give me from what you know, that's great. I like it so far. But here's the other layer. You have to learn how to love me the way I need to be loved. Not want. I need. Therefore, I have to know what I need. For a man, respect is love. You need to show me as a man respect. You need to respect my opinions on things. You need to respect my views on things. You need to respect those things. That's love. If I'm not in agreement with something, you have to respect that. If my final decision on a particular thing is going to cause disagreement, I accept that. But I need to stand on that. If you select me as your leader, as your king, you have to accept that. And if you don't, right, then so be it. But that's where love comes into play for men. When you respect my position on things, right? When you respect that what it is that I stand on is what I stand on, and that what I stand on is not in conflict with you, that it has nothing to do with you, that these are my principles and my values, you have to learn how to respect that. Because you disagree don't mean anything. Because I disagree don't mean anything. But if I take a stance on something and say, hey, no, this ain't going down like that, then you have to accept that. If you don't, that's fine too. Move on. But that's where trust, right, begins for men. Respect, right? I don't do the drama stuff. I don't do the theatrical stuff. I don't like none of that shit because I don't bring it. When you bring it, you got a problem. I don't cause problems. But if you bring one, know that I'm going to respond to it. Know that I'm going to react to it. Directly or indirectly. I'll try indirectly first because if I directly confront this thing, it's not going to be what you like. I don't care. It's about my peace. When you set boundaries, that's what you have to keep in mind. Boundaries keep people out who don't belong. Period. So when I invite you in and you violate that, I'm putting you back on the side of that boundary that keeps people out. Number 4, seek support. Surround yourself with people who encourage your authenticity. Not people who co-sign your nonsense. Not people who co-sign your shenanigans. Not people who have clearly seen how you act and seen the outcome that you have had that you continue to go towards. Like, what sense does that make? And that's what I mean by, like, I watch people. And when you act in this particular way towards other people, it's just a matter of time before that same behavior is going to show up towards me when we're in disagreement. I'm not going to give you that opportunity. Therefore, I'm going to let you know about what just happened with the other person and tell you how wrong it is and what you could have done different. If you stand on that behavior, you stand on that behavior with me. And you got one time to present it to me, and I'm going to check you on it. Because I already shared with you, like, yo, you better than that. You don't need to be like, that wasn't even worth it for you to go. And you still want to stand on what you were standing on. I know what you stand on now. So I'm going to do everything I can to not be in a position to allow you to think that you can do that. And to know that if you step this way with that kind of shenanigans, I'm going to correct it. And this ain't got nothing to do with getting mad and snapping and crashing out and all that foolishness. No. I told you when it happened. That wasn't cool. I tried to tell you along the way and teach you along the way, yo, you should don't do that. And then you thought it was okay to be doing it to me. That's why you have to set boundaries with people, right? So I know that it probably cut through her like a knife when I said it, because everybody wants to be trusted, especially by your wife or your husband. No, you need to trust. Why do I need to trust you? Okay, well, you do some work to earn that trust, right? Like I have to do work to earn your love. Why is it I can't earn you? Have you earned your trust in the area of respect? You have to earn my love. You don't just get it because you gave me a little something, something. That ain't love. It's more to it. It's the ownership and responsibility that you have for your attitude and your behavior, right? It's the support that you show when things happen in my life, and you demonstrate that support. It's what you do to yourself when you're in certain situations that bring forth problems, and you as soon as you're aware of it, correct it. But if you just keep doing and keep doing and keep doing and like acting like it's just you, that's a problem. Because you're reckless with your behavior. You're reckless with your mouth. You say things to other people, especially when men say things to women say things to men, like out of their mouth, like, yo, ho. I don't care how big the Negro is. I don't care what he has in his hand, right? What gave you the idea that you can say what you said to that man? I'm standing right here. If what he just said offended you, then let us have a discussion as to why are you offended? How was it presented before I go see him? You do things that automatically draw. Now I'm sitting on D block because of your mouth. Because you think it's cute. You think it's cute to be disrespectful towards a man. You think it's cute to step to a man because you have one. That ain't cool. Don't put us in that position. And it's a lot of females out there who put males in positions like that because you want to talk slick, but you know he got my back. It's a lot of dudes dead because of that kind of behavior. For real. It's a lot of people dead because of that very behavior that you keep going out there displaying because you think it's cute. You put me in harm's way. I'm not letting anybody put me in harm's way. I'm going to tell you about it. And if you keep doing it, then I have to make a decision. I'm not looking for you to make a different decision. I have to make a decision. Like, yo, that ain't who I am. It ain't got nothing to do with what cloth I'm cut from. I'm born and raised in Philly. You do the math. I'm 65 years old. I made it. You do the math. You do the math. Surround yourself with people who encourage your authenticity. We just covered that. Make sure you look at your circle. If you got people around you who ain't bringing a damn thing to your growth and development, why are they around you? Because it's your comfort zone. Because I have people who believe in my shenanigans. And I'm going to stay there. I don't need people around me to pull me up on my behavior. I don't need people to check me on my conduct. I don't need that because I ain't built for that right now. Only thing I'm built for is you letting me be who I am. Nope. Not with me, you're not. Anybody who calls you their friend and they're not checking you on your shenanigans, they're aiding in your destruction because they're not checking you. And when you do get checked, they already know where it's going to go. That's why they avoid so long checking you. Because they know as soon as they check your behavior, as soon as they set a boundary, they know what you're going to do. So when you have people around you who act just like you, you begin to think that that's a societal norm. No, it ain't. Number 5 is the last one. Stay connected. Even as you embrace your authentic self, remember the importance of staying connected with your loved ones, right? Find common ground and nurture the bonds that matter most to you, right? See, and that's important to understand. Just because you embrace wanting to calling this to be your authentic self, right? It doesn't mean that other people have to accept it. And most of the times, if it ain't right, if it's not in the solution oriented perspective, most people are going to just cut away from you. So you have to come to understand what people are going to accept. If this is what is good between you and I in relationship, this is what I'm gonna talk to you about. I'm gonna talk to you about these things, right? I'm gonna bounce these things off you. I'm gonna share these kind of things with you. I'm not going to go into the realms of this because I already know what the outcome is going to be, because I know who you are. So that's not going to change, right? It's going to always be just like this. So you just have to start asking yourself some questions about who you want to be around and why you want to be around these people. I want somebody who's going to be around me who's going to tell me the truth about my behavior. And most of my life, I had that, because most of my life, I had my family around me. I had my Uncle John, my Aunt Cheryl, my Uncle Frank, my cousin Lisa, my Uncle Ray. Did I say Aunt Cheryl? My Aunt Cheryl. I had my grandmother. I had my grandfather. I had cousins, my cousin Wink when I was coming up younger. Who else? 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 Then when I got older, I had my cousin Jean. I had my cousin Carol. I had Jetta, Darlene. I had my cousin Vanessa, my Aunt Rose. I seem to have always had family, right, around me who were real family, right? And even though I was into some craziness, right, they was always supporting me. They was always there to support. They were always answering questions. They were always telling me things, right? But everybody doesn't have that family connect. But you can have it. You can have it if you choose to. But when you pick up people off the street, that's like anywhere else. You start picking up people, from off the corner and all that, and you think that you're going to get some outcome with that's desirable to your hopes, dreams, and aspirations. That ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. So when you start talking about people, being real and all this, most of these folks ain't real. Most of them are not real. They're trying to connect on the intellectual level, on a level that you should be beyond at this point, right? Because it's about your spirit. It's about goals, right? You got all this stuff that you see in social media that glamorizes stupidity. I'm gonna call it what it is, right? You can say all day long, we was young, this, that, and yeah, we be young, dumb, and stupid, and we do a whole lot of things. But when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and plus years old, and you're still glamorizing the things that you did, that's a problem. It's a problem. I did what I wanted to do. I did what I needed to do. I did what I had to do. In many cases, no doubt. But once you get to a point where you begin to see the need for change, like, people dropping off around me like flies. Well, we used to, and now this don't even happen that way. Yeah. Yeah. See, it's always about being authentic. If I choose this, I stand on it, I live by it. If you don't, that's cool. Ain't no love lost for me. And that's no matter what your decision. Be you. Do you. I didn't ask you to like me. Who's looking for you to like? I don't care nothing about you liking me. It's comments section in all my posts. A lot of times people don't comment. I've been doing this since 2006. I don't get a whole lot of comments. Don't get a whole lot of follows either. That don't bother me. I still show up. Because this is beyond you. This is beyond me. My great, 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 great grandchildren will be able to go online and see Pop, there he is. There's your Pop. That's a great and wonderful feeling. Yeah. I'm a history maker. They have my history. I am Black history. Understand that. Yeah, I am Black history. Your Black history. Whatever your experience is, your Black history. Right? And this is not separating either. I represent Black history. Why are we still back there? We were once slaves. That's a whole nother show, right? As far as we have gotten in 65 years of my life, the only thing that I continue to hear consistently is blacks. All blacks are descendants of slaves. The white man this and the white man that. That's as far as we have gotten. Haven't built on anything that's been said, right? Still going back to MLK speeches. Sure, they were very relevant in that moment, but nobody built off of it. In 1826, when they started the newspaper, the Black started newspaper, right? The newspaper, 1826, to give blacks a voice. Look at how far we haven't gotten in Black media still. I'm tired of it. Listen, you got to build on stuff, man. It's like putting a brick in the middle of an acre saying, we're going to build a house here. And you said that back in 1855. That brick's still there. Grass and grew all around it. And you still cutting the grass around and talking about, build me a house there. Generations have come and gone. You still got that brick there. I'm going to build me a house. That's what it's been like for me. In listening to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That brick still sitting in the middle of an acre. Nothing done. But the brick is still there. And now the story is about the brick. It ain't even about building. It's still about that brick. You know, I'll put that brick there in 1855. I've been coming out here all this time and cutting the grass around that brick. Yeah, and you see, it's not even a square brick. See, that's how we live as blacks in America. We got a story about the damn brick. Ain't another brick next to it. Ain't nothing holding it there. You can still walk over there and pick it up. It's the same damn story. The brick. It's still about the brick. When it started out as being about building. Still ain't nothing there. Just a brick. Yeah. Anywho, as always, you could be doing anything on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock than listening to me and my mouth. So I do appreciate that. I'm not concerned with how many likes and follows and if it goes viral and all that, because the reality of it is a show like this will never go viral. It will never go viral. It's not important. Personal growth and development is not important. Materialism is important. Looking like mannequins is important. Looking like you're rich, even though you're broke, is important. Your humanity is not important. Becoming in alignment with the Creator as man once was is not important. Being better is not important. But if I had some other stuff on the show, if I was talking about beefs, if I was sitting there cussing this person out and cussing that person out, oh, it'd be a whole lot of alignment. Authenticity is just not what it is, because it's been proven in our society that being authentic is not what people want. They don't want authenticity. They want cap. And they want to be able to call it cap. And still have their lives in the poor conditions that they're in. They're conditioned themselves, the human aspects of self, the spirit aspects of self, the mental aspects of self. It's so much to self. That ain't important. I want to know what you're doing in your life. Oh, they got divorced again? Like, I don't watch those shows, those so-called reality shows. Ain't nothing reality about those shows. I don't know if y'all figured that out yet. And people don't act like that for real, right? Because they got a bunch of paper. They still act like the common Negro in any other part of the world. Ain't nothing real about any of that. They want you to think you're in people's lives. No, you're not. Y'all believe it. Anywho, listen, thanks for tuning in. If you ever miss a show or you ever want to just have, some real conversation, some open conversation, some heartfelt conversation, within yourself, because you can watch a show by yourself and come away from there crying. You can cry, laugh, boohoo, snot, and everything in one show. But, you sit down and you invite some friends over. You put one of these shows on if you're at a drug treatment facility, a rehabilitative facility, a facility of correctedness, where you're seeking to help people see that there's another way. Just put one of these on. I'm not going to charge you for it. Hey, if you want me to come to a spot, I'm going to charge you for it, but I'll come. Right? Listen, I'm great at what I do. And I don't need anybody to tell me that. You know why? Because I've had supportive people along my way tell me how good I am. I need to stand on greatness because I am. Because I am. Because I'm connected to life. I use reference points because I want you to go and use a reference point to read and understand. Right? But I've done lectures, workshops and stuff. I don't, I like to read. I'm learning. You have to understand that I don't read these articles in totality when I do these shows. I glance over it. I like the subject matter, right? Because I'm saturated with a human behavioral change. Like I consider myself to be a cognitive behavioral specialist, but I also take ownership in learning how those things work in my own life. So I'm not just regurgitating. I'm helping you. I'm moving you towards self-discovery. And I can do that right in the snap of a finger. To take you through a session. You don't even know you're going through a session because each presentation is actually a session in your own personal growth. Yeah, I'm great at what I do. 30 years. Retired. Now, y'all have a great day. Peace. Hey, don't forget to go to alimforyou.net, right? ALIM, for you.net, and go check us out. And got lots of merchandise there, making some adjustments on what merchandise specifically we're going to focus on for our brand. But you still got stuff on sale. You won't get it for Christmas. I can tell you that now. But our stuff moves pretty quickly, especially the stuff that we have online now, because most of it's from right here in the United States. So you'll be able to get it at a quicker rate. We don't have to go through a whole lot of customs, so on and so forth. But it's merchandise that we order for our pop-up shops primarily that will, may very well come from across the water. But yeah, you can go and you get the stuff, man. Like it comes in days. Right, comes in days. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next Sunday at 10 o'clock. Y'all have a great day.